Just the other day while browsing the internet, I came across this video from this YouTube channel, 32,000 views in a week for a channel with less than 5,000 subscribers. Congratulations on that, because what you've done here is actually quite cool. They have provided one of the only real close-up looks of the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition. So what I thought I would do in this video, what I thought would be fun, I basically stopped about right here. I'm going to watch the rest of the video and point out some details and kind of just react to seeing this thing truly in someone's hand for the first time. I will say I'm going to put a link to that video in the description down below. Absolutely go click it, go there, give them a like, because it is their video and I don't want you just to watch me watching their video and not actually watch their video. So go let it play through and give them a view. We will be watching this in an external video player so that I can kind of frame through this in a more deliberate fashion. But you can see here straight away that this thing does look very similar to the Galaxy Z Fold 6, but there are already some subtle differences that I'm noticing. Crazy how hard it's been to find images that aren't really bad quality, but here you can see that size difference between the Special Edition and the Z Fold 6. It'll be difficult to tell, but there is my Z Fold 6. They look very, very similar, but trust me, not only is this thing larger, it's actually a little bit wider as well. You can see here as he closes it, how thin this thing is. Again, it's going to be difficult to see just from this, but it is indeed thinner than the Z Fold 6. If we go back to this image, you can see that there is that subtle difference in the thickness, and look how much wider it actually is. That is quite a bit of a difference. And then once we move past that and he rotates it around, that is a much wider cover display than we currently have with the Z Fold 6. I think you can really tell there how much wider it is. Now, it is not quite as wide as a normal phone or something like the OnePlus Open or the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. It is still slightly more narrow, but it's really not far off. If I'm not mistaken, it's right in the range aspect ratio wise as a lot of Sony phones. So if some of you actually really like that, that might be a good middle ground for a lot of people. Again, look how thin this thing is. And I do think that that hinge area basically looks the same, just a little bit scrunched down. You can also see how much those cameras do protrude out of the back, and you can kind of see maybe they protrude a bit further than they do here, and that makes sense, right? The camera's going to basically stay the same while the body gets thinner. You can't beat physics. Cameras need depth, so they're going to stick out of the back a little bit more. We've seen other phones like the OnePlus Open with really big camera bumps that stick out really far out of the back. That's why that's going to just kind of be a requirement. Unfortunately, again, you just can't beat physics. So here's a really good look at that cover display. And I think that looks really quite good. I think I would be okay with that. Whereas this was something that I had to get used to. I think I would adjust to that very, very quickly. It looks to me like the bezels are about the same size as the standard Z Fold 6 as well. Of course, you can see here fingerprint power button combo there, as well as your volume rocker, and another really good look at that camera bump, how far that does stick out. And I do think that it's similar to the Z Fold 6. I'm not convinced that it sticks out too much further. We're probably talking about millimeters. You can see here on the bottom that they are sticking with a very similar design, USB-C, and then for the speaker, it is just sort of that cutout, exactly the same as what we have here. And then on the top, yes, it is still the same slit for the speaker, and I also want to point out that just like on the Fold 6, both speakers are on the left side of the device. Notice that they did have to move the SIM tray. It's up top, whereas here, it's right here on the side of the device. So that is a little subtle change that they had to make to the internals. There's a great look at that camera module, and the biggest difference is that it's squared instead of rounded like you have here on the Z Fold 6. The LED flash is still in the same location. Of course, we went from the 50 megapixel sensor here to a 200 megapixel sensor, which should be the same one that we have in the S23, S24 Ultra line of phones. I'm hoping here we'll get a good look at the crease because I've heard that it is less noticeable on this device. And if we get right there, that does look pretty darn good. I'll try to throw some B-roll on here showing my Z Fold 6. And can we tell much of a difference there? It's hard to tell. It's subtle. But I think that that does look maybe like there is an improvement to the crease. But there we go. There's an even better look. And you can start to see the crease appearing right there. But I do think that it does maybe look a little bit better. You can see it really clearly at that point. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that this is going to be like OnePlus Open, level of crease invisibility. But if it is a little bit better, that's obviously a step in the right direction. It's definitely still visible, but I do think that it might be a little bit better. I'm trying to catch these moments where you're off axis and you can really see that crease. Yeah, that definitely looks better to my eye. Now, this is a very new device, and as these devices are opened and closed repeatedly, the crease does tend to get a little bit worse. Now, this is not something that just continues to get worse for the life of the device. It tends to hit a certain spot, and then that's just kind of where it is. So it's hard to say if this is just an early thing and maybe in a day or two it's going to look more like the Fold 6 or not. We'll have to wait until we see reports on that. There's a really good look. It looks broader. It doesn't look as deep, and it looks broader to me compared to the Fold 6. Here he's talking about the under display camera, and I'm wondering if it's just disabled in a setting or something like that because it's visible. That's actually how I keep mine using what's it called? Good Lock, the multi-star module. But as you can see here, it's already visible. Obviously, they're not speaking a language that I can understand, so I'm not diving into those details, but that is something that I just noticed. So the video does carry on from there, and he does look at some other software things too, jumps into the camera application and kind of messes around in there, but I'm going to leave that stuff off in my video as sort of encouragement to go watch the original video and see if there's any details that you might have found interesting. Every time I look at this phone, I kind of come away from it thinking that it does look like an improvement over the Z Fold 6. I'm not a big S Pen user, so the lack of an S Pen digitizer doesn't really bother me. So for me, all I see is a foldable that has a larger screen, it has a wider cover display, it has an improved primary camera, and I think that's kind of the one that I probably would have wanted, and I'm hopeful that maybe we'll see a global release for the Z Fold 7 Special Edition. I'll put another video in the description down below kind of talking about that because there actually is some reason to believe that might actually happen. At any rate, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this phone in the comments down below. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.